Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. The prolonged absence of President Paul Biya from Cameroon has stirred widespread unease and uncertainty within the nation, following his participation in the China-Africa Summit in Beijing on September 2nd, 2024. The President and the First Lady are yet to return to their country, leading to a 35-day period of silence to provide speculations which are arising highly. The government's refusal to give any information or official communication regarding Biya's whereabouts has fueled rumors ranging from illness to potential incapacitation, leaving the peoples of Cameroon questioning the stability of their leadership. This development adds a new layer of complexity to the political landscape of La République du Cameroon, as no one is even allowed to question where their president is, whose long-standing administrative opacity and disregard for transparency have often exacerbated tensions across both Cameroons even, especially for Ambazonia, a nation that has subtly been annexed by the same regime, but now struggles for self-determination. Well, this uncertainty within La République's leadership reignites discussions about governance. It reignites discussions about even the failures of La République, as well as democratic processes, especially abiding by the laws and treaties that bind it. Well, as the Amazonian people continue their fight for independence and freedom from the colonial grip of Yaoundé, this silence from the government serves as yet another example of the dictatorial rule that is historically visible. The absence of President Biya underscores the fragility of a centralized system that has persistently undermined the aspirations of the Amazonian people, with the entire Cameroon's view in this period of silence, not only as a leadership crisis, but also as a moment that highlights the broader call for a more transparent, accountable government, one that has eluded both La République and in turn deprived Amazonia of its sovereignty for decades. Well, with that, we'll head on into the prime headlines of Undaunted tonight.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. An investigation has revealed high-level corruption with the Colonial Victoria City Council. While uncertainty grieves Cameroon as President Biya's absence sparks concern. Tonight on Undaunted, we'll take a look at Colonial Governor Okalia Bilai's life put his DO at risk. Well, tonight, sub-villagers protest against continuous Mbororo militia attacks. On the African scene, Mozambique's election, a potential shift in leadership, while Joe Biden's Benjamin Netanyahu reiterates U.S. support. Now let's get the news in full briefings. The rate of corruption in the colonial government keeps increasing in different aspects of the corrupted La Republic of Cameroon. An investigation has revealed cases of severe financial misconduct at the Colonial Victoria City Council implicating several top officials. The investigations found that these officials were funneling and channeling public funds into their personal accounts. The Secretary General, Kingi Thompson Mulenge, the Municipal Treasurer, Misodi Olangwe Margaret, and the Public Relations Officer, Bao Francis, were found to be misappropriating payments for online services offered by the Colonial Council. Let's begin tonight's Undaunted here. How are you doing, sir?
Splendid, Onyi. Well, the Colonial Victoria City Council's official website, the www.limbecm, provides various online services, which include the information which you just shared in this report. I bet you want to go on to give more details to this report.
Well, the Colonial Victoria City Council official provides online services such as birth, marriage, death, and what they tag as celibacy certificates as well as land certificates. Now, these services are accessible to people across the Cameroons with payment made via different transfer units that they call Money, Western Union, or the MoneyGram. But however, instead of the payments going into the council's institutional account, well, they discovered that funds were being directed to the personal accounts of the officials. Now, according to findings, the three officials have divided the online payments between themselves. Payments made by different money institutions, and payment made to the Secretary General Kingi Thompson, payment made through the MTN mobile money goes to the Public Relations Officer, Bao Francis, while payments made via Western Union or MoneyGram are sent to the Municipal Treasurer, Misondi Elangwe Margaret.
Well, typically payments for Victoria City Council services should be deposited into an official account, official council account. However, the investigation revealed otherwise. After applying for various services, it was discovered that the mobile numbers provided for payments upon completion, the transactions, the names Kingi Thompson, Mulonge, the names for Western Union and MoneyGram transactions, the name of the municipal treasurer, Misodi Langwe Margaret, appeared on the receipts. They were displayed, and it raised questions about the existence of an official account for such services. Why would individuals have the names to these official accounts? The Colonial Victoria City Council's website was developed under the supervision of the Secretary General, who contracted a web developer from Samba, and it remains unclear how long the alleged misappropriation has been occurring. But it is known that King Thompson Mulonge was appointed in 2019 when Victoria was still under the leadership of a colonial government-appointed delegate.
Oh, well, according to the law under 2011-01, which amended provisions of ordinance in June 29, 1981, the issuance of a birth certificate within 90 days is free. Similarly, the certificate of celibacy required to prove someone is eligible for marriage is also meant to be free of charge. The Victoria City Council is charging a fee for these services, you can imagine. Now, for example, what they tag as the celibacy certificate cost 5,100 francs CFA, with the council attributing the fee to the cost of stamps. Not just that, envelopes, mail services, and online processing additional fees are applied based on the applicant's location, even though these services are legally supposed to be free. With this fraud and established mismanagement at the different colonial councils in Ambazonia, the Special Council and what they call Support Fund for Mutual Assistance canceled debt of this council with the pretext that the ongoing war was making revenue collection difficult. This organ is in charge of financial councils. The regime was careless about what was done with the money that the colonial mayors collected, thereby promoting corruption. And this just goes to show corruption oozes from the very impression of Amazonians, and of course the Colonial Council. You can see that for yourself. The question this night is, what is celibacy funds or payments or agreements or whatever they tag that as? Highly amazing, I must say. But we have our in-house analyst here, Barrister Mbeseha, who would actually try to answer. Barrister Mbeseha, have you heard of any celibacy payments before now? Let's be sure.
Well, I don't need to hear about it. If the story we hear is correct, they are dealing with electronic money transfers, electronic transactions. If that is true, then they must be hiding in the desert, because electronic transfers are the easiest one to trace. Where there's something wrong, you'll be traced. Well, are they going to be traced? We don't know. Something illegal might have happened there. That's a fact. But whether they get handled, they get to pay back, it's a different story. Because as much as you can talk here, you and me can talk. Like any other person in Victoria, in the street can talk. Those other individuals, including you and me, cannot initiate action to punish the evildoers, to punish the suspects of the crime. And so, since crime is actually legalized, criminality, the chances that the people are going to be handled appropriately are slim. And so, they are sounding the bell, but is no one going to be held accountable for all what is going on? Certainly, I doubt. But from the fact as you see it from there, from their own website, it suggests they are doing electronic transfers. And so the interesting thing is that they put charges which are manifestly illegal by their own law. And how do they justify it? Stamps. When you make electronic transactions, what stamps are they talking about? What stamps are they talking about doing electronic transactions? At the very best, there's something they call the convenience stamp, which is just $100 at the best. Although it's less than 25 cents. And so these are all machinations for theft, cautioned by the authorities concerned. Nobody might hold them accountable, but the theft continues and will continue until some system somehow come into place, holding criminals accountable for their own acts. We are not a public office, a county, a council, a city council, whatever you call it. You're a public servant. The money that comes through you belongs to the city. You have to be punished for that if you steal the money. I remember back in 1972, primary schools were supposed to be free from class 1 to class 4. And when they were paying the money, there was a service at the district office. They called it the financial department. One of my friends, is now of late, was chief of that financial department in Moyoka. He stole some of the money, 500,000 at the time, a lot of money. He ended up in jail for 5 years and lost his job. And so we are trying to return to the normal way of doing things, where criminals are held accountable, where wrongdoers answer for their wrongdoing, and they go to jail and serve time if that is necessary for whatever thing they have done. But that principle of wrongdoers being held accountable, people going to jail, has been thrown out of the window in the whole thing they call the Republic of Cameroon, including Victoria, where we are citing these instances. Because as shown publicly, even those who go to jail, for example, in Kominge, jail is no longer jail. People go there to have JA, VIP jails, where people have their guards inside the jail, guarded properly, and their wives come and sleep with them there. So it is a total failure of a system. It is a failure of the public confidence. And so that is fraud, which I always call it a legalized fraud. Why legalized fraud? Because you are doing something wrong, but it is legal in the eyes of the criminals, and there's no way to bring them to be held accountable. So that is what might be happening in Victoria. We don't have all the facts, but that is what might be happening. Over to you.
Well, in Victoria, we have this, what would rather put as big fishes, because these are leaders and administrators, colonial administrators in Victoria perpetrating this high-level criminal acts. Not only them, we're seeing that in Bamenda, There are other people that we would describe as small fishes, but this time they're taking huge sums of money in Bamenda. Even microfinance banks are starting to extort and do away with people's savings in these banks. And there's been a report in Bamenda particularly giving clients of these bank, people who save money in this microfinance bank, a heart attack with the fact that a huge sum of 12 million francs CFAs have been looted and more like stolen by the supposed manager, and this manager has been on the run, nowhere to be found. So looking at the fact that these bigger fishes, they hardly ever get anything like justice or be accountable or even pay for the fraudulent crimes and embezzlement. What is the hope for these people who have their money saved in this microfinance bank? And is there any possibility that they would get justice or apprehend this manager on the run at the moment?
Well, again, there's nothing like justice there. What you're saying in Bamenda or somewhere is just a tip of the iceberg. I don't know how old you are, and I don't know where you remember this story. There was a bank in Cameroon there called SCB, Credit Lyonnais. It was an official bank. There was a lot of money there. And what happened? It's alleged. Madam, the first lady ordered for the transfer of all the money. They transferred all the money, they stole the money. The general manager of that bank took part of what was left and fled to Canada. He's living in Canada right now. And the bank shut down. Customers have not been heard. Nobody has had his or her money. And so they are there, protected. We have been hearing about extradition. That's the crime that Cameroon could say, well, this guy has committed a crime. But they will not do it. Because if you were brought to court, for example, it will involve some other high-ranking people at the presidency, most likely the president's wife. Why not himself? And so that's legalized criminality. The poor people who put their money there, when they siphon everything, you lose everything. You can cry and go to hell. Nobody is going to attend to you. Because you cry expecting justice to be done. Who will do justice for you? At the very best, officially, is the courts. These people are not even brought to the courts. But if they are brought to the court, the individuals being brought to the court are so immune that even the judge, the magistrates will find it difficult to pronounce any sentence against them. Because knowing the system that they operate on, that very judge sitting in the court is appointed by the president. The prosecutor is appointed by the president. The registrar of the court is appointed by the president. Will you expect these people, this chain of command, to bite the finger that fed them, to turn around and prosecute the president's wife, the president's son, the president's mother-in-law, brother-in-law, a cousin, or even a friend without a job? It's not going to happen. They're just human beings. And so that's how legalized criminality continues, and it will continue until such a time that a system is set up that will hold them accountable. Is that system going to come so soon? I doubt it. But as far as Ambazonian is concerned, it is our duty, our desire to leave the system, set up our own system, and hold people accountable. Too much is too much. If they are stealing money just for stamps, it should not be Victoria. Victoria is supposed to be one of the richest councils in the country. Given that, for example, you remember that Sonora is based there. The money that Sonora, if they were paying taxes even there, the city should have more than enough money to do whatever thing they want. But that money is not being paid there. The CDC is based in Victoria. If they were paying their taxes, they are the second largest employer in the country. If they were paying their taxes to Victoria, they should never lack money. Workers will have a fair salary. They will not have the time to go stealing stamps. Some worth of money, 500 francs. And so that is the system where we have found ourselves. That is the system from which we are trying to extract ourselves from it, extricate ourselves from it, and live better. And so expect any punishment doubt. It's very, very doubtful. Over to you.
Anyways, we'll move on to more happenings on the home front because we see yet again the Mbororos at it. While all of this is happening amidst the war, the extortion, fraud, and more, we still see the Mbororo militias attacking yet again.
Residents of Soap Village in the new local government area have blocked the main road connecting Dungan Mantun in the Savannah zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia Tumba in Lao Republic to Cameroon West region. This blockade was mounted on Wednesday, October 9th, following a series of deadly attacks on the community reportedly carried out by armed Mbororo militias. The recent attack led to the assassination of Mr. and Mrs. Mango George in cold blood. In response, a large group, mainly composed of women, took to the streets, carrying peace placards and blocking traffic on the main road, which has become a critical route for travelers in and out of Dogon Matu County due to insecurities on the Kumbo Nkambe Road as a result of the ongoing war in Ambazonia.
Well, the protesters, frustrated by the lack of intervention from the colonial government, who are already believed to be sponsoring these attacks, and the absence of justice for the victims, are demanding an end to the violence and immediate action from local authorities. They specifically called for the colonial mayor of Undu to come and hear their grievances, emphasizing their determination to deliver their message through official channels. A protester expressed the community's desperation, stating that until their demands were met, they would not allow vehicles to pass through. Another villager, grieving the death of his brother, voiced his disbelief at the violence and, worse still, the silence, describing his late brother as a peaceful man unjustly killed by the Mbororo militias.
Well, the protests are a direct response to the ongoing wave of violence that has plagued the sub-village. Armed Mbororo militias have launched severe attacks in recent weeks, resulting in the death of at least 5 people. Although local Wimbum traditional rulers and Mbororo community leaders have attempted peace talks, the violence remains unchecked. The villagers' actions reflect their glowing and growing frustration with the colonial government's inaction, with many others accusing the colonial authorities of sponsoring the Mbororo militias. The continued silence from colonial administrators has only reinforced these claims, leaving the people of Sub to fend for themselves as deadly attacks continues without consequences. These actions and activities of the Mbororo has continued without consequences. Barrister Mbeseha, the punchline here is that these actions have continued without any form of consequence, any form of succor from the colonial government. What would you have to say about this?
Well, the problem is these people seem to behave like people from the moon. They are calling on the mayor of Ndu as if the mayor of Ndu lands from heaven to sit in Ndu. The mayor, if there's one there, is very aware of this problem. He lives there. He knows the Mbororo leaders. He knows the other people. If they're killing people, he's aware of them. So do they need to get this woman to come out and wear kaba to sit in the street to bring all this to their notice? Certainly not. So we've had the time, many times before, to address this issue. The farmer grazier problem, that is at the bottom of it. But it should not be a problem because these two communities, the farmers and the cattle rearers, the graziers, they've been living there for time immemorial. They've been neighbors forever. So they didn't just come. There are no people who were transported from somewhere and landed there and planted there. No, they've been living there. So why did he get to this level? How did it come that the villagers will have to come to the street and call on the mayor? It is because they have been instrumentalized. They have been used politically. Who has forgotten about the Ngala Gerard militia, who uses very Mbororo? This is all happening in Dongaman too. To commit the Ngarbu disasters, kill people, burn their corpses to hide the crime. Who has forgotten what the government came up to do? After denying it, they agreed it was done by them. They agreed they appointed a commission of inquiry to investigate and find out what happened. And of course, what's important is the conclusion. They claimed that 2 of their officials were involved, senior officials. And then they asked them, what of the Bororos that people have armed them? They said they disappeared into thin air. How could people there, the very Mbororo, given armed by the government, who have committed crimes, just disappear into thin air? No, there's something being used from the top. See, what we find so difficult, which is so difficult for me, maybe I don't know whether others feel the same, is how these women too are not descending from the moon. They live in Sop. They live there in Du. A few days, about a week ago, we saw some of those very women, they demonstrating in Du, to press Ngala Gerard, to press the mayor of Du. These are the very people who are not going down the street with palm branches, calling on the governor, calling on the mayor to come and help them. These are the very people who are supporting the very mayor, marching down the street to show that it was very good. Were they doing this thing voluntarily? I doubt it. They have been politicized for their own good because somebody gave them a bottle of beer or something like that. The farmer grazier issue should not arise anywhere, even in Africa, 60 years after independence. The farmers and the graziers can live side by side if you know how to manage the thing. A man with 20 cows, 30 cows, 100 cows does not need so many acres of land to feed the cows anymore. You can grow fodder, feed your cows within a confined environment, and they will not go around eating people's coyams and corn. But government, are they aware of this? Of course they are. But if they did that, that would avoid this crisis, which they exploit for their own advantage. Because what these people do is, you don't see them marching there, say, oh, we support the government. Oh, we're supporting the government. Let the CPD and come and help us. That's what Yawande needs. That's what the DUA needs to show that it's in control. The DUA will come there. I remember again, if I'm not forgotten, about 2 weeks ago, they said they were making peace officially. There's supposed to be some peace meetings sitting there in Kambe. They were the Mbororo thing. They didn't like doing it. No, it is an opportunity for them to use a political campaign. They know the people who are behind all those things. Dampulo is their son. He lives there with them. He's the one who owns cattle upon cattle everywhere there. He's an incumbent man. He lives there with them. And so these women who are our mothers would assume, and that's a fact, that they have their own children, girls, women, boys, in Yaoundé. Talk less of abroad, in the US, in the UK, everywhere we are. Why are they refusing to stand up to the task and say, no, this is nonsense? That woman is sitting down there. It's not her alone. She has a son. She has a husband. She has a daughter who is well placed somewhere in Yaoundé, in Douala, in the UK, in the US, or anywhere else in the world. So when you let the opportunity pass, when you don't stand up for what is right, something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. And so the farmer grazier issue should not arise. It should never have arisen. In the 1960s, when Southern Cameroon was still there, the farmers and the graziers were all there. Look at this. They have been living there forever. How did it become something so political? They just created a new breed of farmers, a new breed of cattle rearers. No. They have been instrumentalized for the purpose of politics. Especially as on the eve of our election. They say, well, we did this, Mr. Mayor came around, the prefect came around with his khaki shirt and said, we will see into it. That's all it is about. And so, again, I don't know how to say it more than this. If you remember that just last week or 2 weeks ago, we saw the people in Kambe holding a meeting, a peace conference between the Mbororo and the farmers. We saw the very people in Du there demonstrating, hailing Mr. Ngala Gerard and the mayor of Ndu. When we think that these women are not part of Ndu, why were they doing that? They're trying to politicize their program. Say these are the best people we have. Now they are coins, they are pushed to the corner. They are now on the street again. So be it until the people become reasonable, until we get ourselves out of it, there will be no peace there. Over to you.
Well, Barrister Mbeseha, indeed the case of the Mbororos is nothing new, but what is always strikingly peculiar is the silence of the supposed administrators. Well, unlike the case of SOP, where there is utter silence, for Okalia Bilai, he has sent out threats concerning the abducted DOs. Bernard Okalia Bilai, the colonial governor of the Atlantic Zone, of Amazonia has issued a 72-hour ultimatum demanding the release of the abducted Colonial Divisional Officer, Ewane Roland, and the Municipal Council store accountant, Etogo Ishmael.
Well, according to Bilai, information confirms that both colonial officers were taken to Nigeria on the 1st of October. Despite this intelligence, there are growing concerns that Bilai's approach may backfire. The ultimatum, rather than ease tensions, could heighten the risks to the lives of the abducted officials, especially since the identities of the perpetrators remain unknown. So this tactic mirrors the strategy employed by the octogenarian dictator of La Republic de Cameroon, who responded to the peaceful protests of Ambazonians in 2016 with military force rather than negotiations. That approach escalated into the ongoing war in Ambazonia today.
Well, instead of seeking for peaceful resolution, we see Okalia Bilai appearing to be following in the same footsteps, issuing threats rather than pursuing dialogue for the safe release of his colleagues. With the 72-hour deadline quickly approaching, all eyes are on the situation to see how yet another threat secures the freedom of the abducted colonial DOs, or if it further complicates the situations. Well, with that, we'll have to get to you again, Barrister Mbeseha. Looking at this particular report, we're seeing Okalia Bilai taking very quick action, unlike the report we just gave about the Mbororos. Nothing tangible has exactly been done. And not only is he proactive, Okalia Bilai, he is giving threats to the abductors of these two colonial administrators. And people are wondering, is that not counterproductive? Wouldn't that even instigate a reason for the abductors to do something drastic to these two? What is your take about this recent development in this regard?
Well, based on what we know, it would seem to me that Okala Bilai is so ignorant of history. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The duo and the council worker were adopted, as I told, on the 1st of October. Today is 10th. Okala Bilai never got there until several days after. The people had disappeared for days. Then he gets there to give a 72-hour ultimatum, which is just talk cheap. If the people who adopted them wanted to harm them, they would have long since been harmed. So that issue in that ultimatum is absolutely zero consequence, absolutely nothing. But I said that this man is so ignorant of it. Because if the stories are true, when they adopted this guy, they went with them. They saw them going in the flying boat. They put them in the flying boat and went with them. But remember that the duo and all those council people, that's all the building in which they live, they're all in the creeks. The easiest movement that you can have in the creeks is by boat. And so if these people even had their own flying boat that was even armed, they would have pursued those people. They are put in the creeks. They have nothing to defend themselves against with. So because what piracy is common in the creeks. Piracy did not start new today. It has been there forever. Piracy is there. So there's a total absence of security there. The issue is, when you put your administrators there, what measures have you put in for their security? Based on what happened, they put nothing there. But again, I say they're ignorant of history, because Dabato, or the creek, what they call the Bakassi Peninsula, has been an area disputed between Cameroon and Nigeria for a long time. Remember, we talked about the Green Tree Agreement. What was the Green Tree Agreement about? Because that area is largely inhabited by Nigerians. Before the handing over of the Bakassi Peninsula to Cameroon, the Nigerian government had developed a lot there, that put up modern schools, that put up modern hospitals, that put up everything they could find there. And so they were to transfer these things back to Cameroon. With the agreement, they signed the Green Tree Agreement, that they will continue these services. They will do all this to keep it. Because no matter where the Nigerians are not, they live in Cameroon. According to the governor, they did this to the mayor because they were looking for a mayor actually, because they wanted them to pay taxes. Well, there's this common saying that we understand: no taxation without representation. Well, the taxes they have been paying there forever. These people don't have any other thing to do there. They have nothing to show for the taxes. Talk less of the oil that they exploit from Montemba, from that area, the Edabato. And so the people resist the taxes, and they are right to do that because the taxation money doesn't come to help them. Why did the governor go there so late after the incident occurred? Because there is no access road from Boya to Dabato. There's no road there. From Boya, you do 70 kilometers, which is just 50 miles. You're in Kumba. From Kumba, you're supposed to take just 50 kilometers, which is about 35, 40 miles to Ndian. There's no road there. And so there's no way the governor could even get there, even with the best planes that he had. He was not going to land there because there's no road. Does the governor forget that all the riches of Cameroon come from Ndian? And so if he himself cannot stand there, he did not go there armed. He went there with an escort of military guys in helicopters. So, because he was afraid to die, what did he put in place for the so-called poor mayor and Dio of Idabato? They put nothing. They allowed them to die. And I said this before. If you look through the history, the past 10, 15, 20 years, most administrators in that Bakassi area have been Anglophones because they put them there to take the risk and die. 10, 15 years ago, one of my contributors was sent there as a Dio. He was transferred from Moyoka. He never ever got there. They killed him. The parents killed him before he ever got to Edabatu. They killed him. He was a Dio like this one. Where are the investigations? We don't know. And so these guys seem to forget history and make order of grandstanding that will not happen. Again, Nigeria, he says they are Nigerians, which is very, very good. Nigeria, as far as we are concerned, is an active partner with Cameroon in terms of security. That's how Cameroon could fly their planes across the border and go and catch people from the Nara Hotel and bring them back. So why not ask your fellow Nigerian government to bring back the people for you? They are not doing it. They're saying, oh, they will come back. What will bring them to bring them back? How will they come back? It is that those parents who told them, okay, Mr. Okalia Bilai has just said, oh, go back home. That's bullshit. And I saw a video of where the poor people were living. They have one big hall there, one big structure, where the Dio has a room for himself. The mayor has his own room for himself. They should even shoot his bed. And they're living inside these creeks without any protection. And when they adopt them, according to the mayor, according to the governor, because the people were resisting taxes. And the question is, why are they even paying taxes under those conditions where they live? From 2006 to today, it's about 18 years since the Green Agreement. Has Cameroon fulfilled its part of the bargain? It's zero. These are the consequences of their unfaithfulness, of their injustice. If we had a Southern Cameroon government, we'll be having flyovers in Dabato. We'll not be having that type of security risk. If there must be security cooperation, we'll be cooperating officially with the neighboring countries around. That is to say, for example, Nigeria. So much so that if they kidnap somebody and they're thinking that they will telephone and say, look, that's the boat. They want to catch them. But the city in Yaoundé, all what they can content themselves is to steal. Just to steal the money. And so that's what it is. Sorry for the poor guys who have been adopted. We don't wish them death, but they were very lucky to still be alive. And so if they die, they will just be dying like other Anglophones, they call them, who have been posted there. And I have not seen any Bulu man, any Wondo guy posted to Bakassi or posted to Dabato as an administrator. They will not. They don't want their own children to go into that risk. Again, where was their own flying boat? These guys adopted these guys and they sped off in the flying boat. They saw them going. They could not even chase because they had nothing to chase with. And so, what's the rationale? Piracy has been in that zone forever and ever. Piracy has been there for the past 30, 40 years. So when we want to send somebody there, take precaution. That's your chef d'etat. The chef d'etat represents the president, even in the creeks. Sorry for them. We wish that come back. But they come back because of the threats of Mr. Bilai. Over to you.
Oh, well, we'll definitely follow up and see what happens. I mean, he has given an ultimatum. We would want to follow up to check if his words would hold water, if something would come up. So next on Undaunted, I will definitely give you the latest information as to that. But then let's get into the report that seems to interest all Cameroonians. President Paul Biya's absence from Cameroon has sparked widespread discussions and concerns amongst our Cameroonians. After attending the China-Africa Summit in Beijing on the 2nd of September, President Biya and the presidential couple haven't returned home. Well, this has fueled speculation and rumors. The question is, what happened to him? Where was he for over 37 days? Was he sick? Well, the lack of communication from government authorities has contributed to the public's anger on what exactly is wrong with the president. Well, highlighting the importance of transparency and proactive communication. In fact, Cameroonians have every right to be concerned about their president's whereabouts and well-being. Well, it's essential for citizens to know that their leader is addressing the country's problems and ensuring their safety. The government's delayed response and subsequent attempts to debunk rumors have only added to the confusion.
Well, the situation serves as a valuable lesson for government bodies. Being proactive and transparent is crucial in preventing misinformation and maintaining public trust. But that's something the La Republic seemed to last. A simple statement from the civil cabinet or communication ministry of La Republic could have alleviated concerns and prevented the spread of false narratives. Well, this development comes amidst the ongoing war in southern Cameroon, the Amazonian War, which has plagued the nation since 2016. The war began as a protest against perceived human marginalization and discrimination. But then it escalated into a full-blown war, with Amazonians seeking independence after their protests were met with heavy head-downs. Now, against this volatile backdrop, Paul Biya's absence has heightened anxieties and raised questions about the government's ability to address the war. Many Cameroonians, particularly in the southern Cameroon's Amazonia, feel abandoned and uncertain about this silence.
Meanwhile, here are some genuine concerns: lack of transparency. The government's silence on Biya's whereabouts has created uncertainty and speculation. Citizens have the right to know. Cameroonians have the right to be informed about their president's activities and his well-being as well. Precedent for proactive communication, timely updates from the government could have prevented the current situation. By addressing these concerns and adopting a more transparent approach, the government can rebuild trust and demonstrate its commitment to accountability and open communication. That is, if they want to have a better country. But we know the truth here.
Well, a few hours ago, the Minister of Interior's Atanga Paul Laurent Gregoire Warner has banned and bullied any form of talk discussions about this rumor. Yes, you heard that right. Talking about the absence of the president has been banned by the Ministers of Interiors and the names you just heard. Well, the recent ban on TV and radio debates about President Paul Biya's whereabouts, his health, along with the monitoring of social media comments, has sparked outrage amongst the Cameroon people. Well, it is understandable that citizens are concerned about their president's well being, especially given the country's ongoing challenges. Now, in a democracy, transparency and open communication is very essential. The government's attempt to silence discussions on the president's whereabouts, his health, only fuels speculations and even anxiety. Intelligent leaders engage in constructive dialogue rather than resorting to intimidation and shutting down its people.
Their situation highlights the tension between freedom of expression, which we have seen continuously, especially when it comes to the media, and government's control. While in today's digital age, social media plays a significant role in shaping public discourse. However, excessive social media consumption can contribute to mental health and concerns and all of that, stress and anxiety. But that should not be a room to shut the people up. Cameroonians deserve clear communications from their government. They elected the government. The government served the people. And so they deserve clear communications from their government by addressing these concerns and fostering open dialogue. The government can rebuild trust. But like I said, only if they are ready to demonstrate its commitment to democracy and accountability. Barrister Mbeseha, let's start with the fact that the ministers are shutting people up from discussing these sensitive, serious issues. In fact, it's a threat, really. And, would definitely find out information if the local news and all of that is actually buying into the threat, as it were. But the thoughts of people being restricted from expressing an obvious feeling it's kind of not just sad, it's a tragedy.
Oh, well, maybe a tragedy to you and me, Amazonians. It's not a tragedy to Francophones, call our people. And this is the background. Remember, when the president goes out, especially President Paul Biya, because that's the one that we know, when he moves out of Yaoundé to go to China as he did, for about a week, at the most 2 days, the town is shut down. And the message is the president is going out. And when he finally goes, he has never come back for more than a month. So when he's going out, it's an official departure. People see him going. When he's coming back, it's an official return. People see him coming back. But he goes out, his departure is announced. He never comes back for more than 30 days. And nobody's questioning it to them. It's just normal that the president can live anywhere. And let us not forget, they are discussing it now and giving orders and left and right because somebody ventured to announce it. Somebody ventured to announce that the president is dead, right or wrong, was announced by ABS. ABS is not one of the networks in Yaoundé or Douala. It's not been in France. ABS is linked to some Amazonians. And because they announced this, he found them now on a frenzy, trying to defend the indefensible. And so they find Atanganji all trying to do what is impossible. Who is Atanganji doing this thing? He's the Minister of Territorial Administration. What connection has Atanganji got to do with the press? Is it they want to authorize the press to broadcast or not to broadcast something? It is not within his competence as the Minister of Territorial Administration. In Cameroon, they have the Ministry of Communication that gives licenses for people to operate those things. They have a whole structure set up there to discipline news organs, to discipline journalists if they give out the information they do not want it to go out. None of this is lodged in the Ministry of Territorial Administration. Nothing. And so Mr. Atanganji comes out issuing these things. They don't want to hear a discussion on the president's head. Why? One must ask. This is what has been going on in Cameroon. It's not just the head. You don't discuss anything on the government. You discuss it, you'll be sent to jail. I think there's something in Cameroon they call higher instructions. That nobody knows where they come from. But they become the law. People are forced to obey them. And he asked, they elected this man, if he was elected, at least for 7 years. And seeing the communiques that have come out to explain, to catch up, to explain his absence, is one from Ayolo. Mr. Ayolo is the chief of the civil cabinet at the presidency. But Ayolo is not issuing this order, this explanation from the presidency. No, he's issuing it from abroad. In other words, when the president goes out for 1 month, or for 2 months, or for 1 year, he moves with the whole presidency and the staff. People might not know what it means. That's huge sums of money. They pay a lot of money to move the whole presidency out of Yaoundé to wherever he is, hiding or popularly there, issuing decrees, issuing whatever he thinks there. He has another presidential palace abroad. The presidential palace that he operates from abroad is not given to you free of charge. They are paying Cameroon money there. They are paying those hotel suites. They are paying whatever space they're operating from. And so the people don't have money even to live back home. You see the streets are so dirty. There's no good road. And people are spending tons of money abroad to pay for presidential offices to run from abroad. And again, until this thing started just a week ago, this issue was never debated. No Francophone will put out his finger to say, well, the president is absent. Nobody would dare say it because they will arrest you. And now that it's out, it is beyond control. You hear this order from Matanganji. Then you know, well, if you talk about it again, you go to jail. You don't just talk about it. Do you even understand what is meant by freedom of speech, freedom of thought? You are free to think that the president is dead. That's your opinion. That does not kill him. You are free to say the president is mad. That's your opinion. It is not the law. So people are restrained from even expressing themselves unless you have to express yourself in their own way and in support of them. This is just madness. It's total absence of any liberties in the world. The press, the freedom of the press, is supposed to be there. They are free to write what they like. If it offends you, the reaction is not to go and ban the people. No. Take them to the court. Take them to the press regulatory agency there. And they'll have appropriate sanctions for them. There's no place for Atanganji to take individual sanctions against the press or against individual journalists. Is this new? No. We have been singing the song of Wazizi, who was taken into captivity just for having an FM radio station in Boya. He has never returned. We are told that he's dead. We don't even know where his dead body is. He was a journalist. Why? He was taken into custody by government agencies for voicing an opinion that is different from theirs. And he's not dead. Nobody was asking any question until Zogo fell in the same trap. Now they're talking about Zogo. It has involved so many government officials that they don't even know what to do, but they're talking about it because they caught one of them. Wazizi was one of us. Nobody ever cared to bother. Nobody ever demonstrated. No journalists in Cameroon call it. They have a union of journalists. Nobody came out to say, "Let us protest against the catching of Wazizi and the killing of Wazizi," because they killed him. They have not told us how he died. Nobody said anything. And so that is a banana republic. That's a republic to which we should never have belonged. That's a republic to which we don't belong. And we must get out of it. And so Mr. Atanganji can remain there making all that bullshit. It has no meaning legally. It has meaning militarily because they will catch you, they will jail you without asking questions. It's not going to go to any court anyway. Over to you.
Barrister Mbeseha, well, like you said, we know when it comes to La République, press stifling has been a thing since the ages. Even at the onset of this war, press stifling was a thing. But of course, it doesn't read the scenario of the absurdity of this ban on the press and people talking about such an important issue as a president going missing for over a month now. Well, away from the absurdity of this ban, looking at the Amazonia, how this could potentially or possibly affect Amazonia. How do you think President Paul Biya's absence impacts the ongoing Amazonian struggle? Do you think it has any potential impact on the struggle?
It probably will have. Not because his presence will torment anything. Now, the debate now over social media and official media, even in government circles in Yaoundé, about the possible presence or absence of Biya has raised the issue to a higher level. It has raised an important issue which will affect Amazonia. The possibility that there's going to be power change, shift in power at the Tudi. Whether that shift in power gives power to his wife, his widow, or his son, or anybody he likes, that's going to affect Amazonia. So his physical presence has been important. Because we know him. Since this crisis started 2016 till today, he has never said anything. But they have acted on higher instructions. And so they can manufacture anything and do it like that. If he is no longer there, for good or for bad, there will be a new leader. He's going to take a different approach. So, but we don't know how that transition would work. Is it going to be something just moving in Madame to become the president, or my son to become the president? We don't know. But we speculate that without him, if he's no longer there, people are not just going to let things happen. There will be a struggle. There will be a fight because everybody wants power. And if there's a fight, Amazonians are going to be affected. If there's a fight, the Betis, who officially control the presidency, they officially control the military, they control every apparatus of government. They are not going to let things go easily. They will fall back to fight for their deserved rights. The others are not going as suspect, are not just going to let things go, they'll fight back. In that process, where does the Amazonian, what they call the Anglo, fall? Where do you fall? I don't know how many of them are in the presidential guard. They are not even there. If they are very few. You become the enemy of the system because you have cautioned this thing for many years. So if you are asking me, I would simply say, if there are any Amazonians in their territory, both military and otherwise, start to think about your flight route because the days ahead might be very, very dangerous for you. That time, whoever pretends to be your friend now is not going to be your friend. Think about your escape route because the signs are dangerous and looking very bad for the future. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Barrister Mbeseha, except you have another question only. All right, thank you. As always, it's been a pleasure having you here on Undaunted. With that, we'll say good night to you and move on with the rest of the news, heading on to the African news.
Thank you very much.
Well, on the African scene, we see Mozambique heading to the polls in an election that could, for the first time, see the country elect a president born after its independence from Portuguese colonizers in 1975. Approximately 17 million of Mozambique's 32 million citizens are eligible to vote in this coastal, resource-rich Southern African nation. Alongside the presidential elections, voters will also participate in parliamentary and provincial elections across the country's 11 provinces. This election marks the end of President Filipe Nyusi's tenure after 8 years in office. Nyusi, 65, represents the governing Mozambique Liberation Front, the Frelimo party, which has held power since the country's independence. Nyusi's exit signals the close of an era dominated by Frelimo's pro-independence fighters, many of whom, like Nyusi, were involved in the brutal liberation war that claimed thousands of Mozambican lives.
Nyusi's presidency, however, has been marred by corruption, most notably the tuna-bound scandal of 2013 to 2016. These controversies saw high-ranking Frelimo members implicated in secret loan guarantees for state-owned fishing companies, with many, including a former finance minister, convicted and jailed. The fallout from this scandal continues to cast a shadow over Frelimo's leadership as Mozambicans head to the polls. The electorate is deeply divided. Many older Mozambicans remain skeptical of change, hesitant to depart from the leadership of the party that fought for their independence. In contrast, the country's youth, frustrated by high unemployment, poverty, and ongoing conflict in the northern regions, are calling for change. They are pushing for new leadership that can address their needs and bring more security and economic opportunities.
Well, as the election unfolds, President Nyusi has called for calm and patience, urging citizens to allow the process to conclude peacefully. Using a soccer match metaphor, he stated, "The final outcome is only known after the last whistle. It is too early to declare a winner." He cautioned against premature declarations, emphasizing the importance of waiting for the official results. Analysts suggest that one of the strongest challenges to Frelimo's continued dominance could come from Venancio Mondlane, a 50-year-old independent candidate new to the national political arena. Mondlane's candidacy is seen as a fresh alternative, potentially appealing to the younger generation looking for change. As Mozambique votes, the outcome would signify not just a new leader, but a generational shift in the country's political landscape, as the future of the nation's governance and the legacy of its independence movement hangs in the balance. With that, we'll head on to news across the globe.
Well, U.S. President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently had a highly anticipated 30-minute phone call, their first since August. Now, the call was to discuss Israel's planned response to Iran's recent missile strike. The White House described the conversation as direct and productive, with both leaders agreeing to stay in close contact in the coming days. Vice President Kamala Harris also joined the call. The phone call comes at a critical time as two opposing forces are at play. On one hand, President Biden is hesitant to involve the U.S. in a potentially unnecessary and dangerous war with Iran. On the other hand, some Israelis see this as an opportunity to deal a significant blow to their long-time enemy, Iran.
Well, Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, emphasized the country's determination to launch a deadly, precise, and surprising attack against Iran. The stance is fueled by Israel's ongoing offensive against Hezbollah, which has revitalized Israeli efforts to break the stalemate in the Lebanon border conflict. And also, the European Union and the Council of Europe are calling for the global abolition of the death penalty, citing its inhumane nature and violation of human dignity. Well, this joint statement comes ahead of the European and World Day Against the Death Penalty on October 10th. The EU's High Representative Joseph Borrell and the Council of Europe's Secretary General Alain Berset expressed concerns over the continued use of capital punishment in several countries. Despite the global trend towards its eradication, they noted that more than two-thirds of all countries have abolished the death penalty in law or practice, and the number of countries carrying out executions in 2023 dropped to a record low.
Meanwhile, the Commonwealth of Independent States has made significant stride in de-dollarization, with 85% of cross-border transactions now settled in national currencies. This shift away from the US dollar is a notable development in the global financial landscape. The CIS, comprising 12 countries, has been working towards reducing its dependence on the US dollar for trade settlements. This move is seen as a strategic decision to promote economic cooperation and stability within the region. Kazakhstan, for instance, has emerged as a key player in the CIS, with its economy showing significant growth and attractiveness for investments. The de-dollarization process is part of a broader trend with other regional blocs also exploring alternative currencies for trade. This shift could potentially redefine the global economic order, with emerging markets playing a more prominent role.
All right, to take a look at the key factors driving de-dollarization, economic cooperation, with the regional blocs seeking to promote economic stability and cooperation, as well as reducing dependence, decreasing reliance on the US dollar for trade settlement, and emerging markets, growing influence of emerging markets in the global economy. While the CIS has made notable progress, other regions, such as Africa, are also exploring similar initiatives. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, for example, aims to boost intra-African trade and economic integration. Well, with that, we've come to the end of Undaunted. Coming up next is the recap.
All right, before we go, let's take a look at our major highlights.
On Undaunted tonight, we saw the high-level corruption revealed with the Colonial Victoria City Council, as well as uncertainty gripping Cameroon as President Biya absence sparks concerns. Colonial Governor Okalia Bilai puts life of abducted DO at risk by sending out threats to abductors, according to Amazonians in southern Cameroon's sub-village as well protest against continuous Mbororo militia attacks.
On the African scene, we talked about Mozambique's election, telling you is a potential shift in leadership. While on the foreign scene, we told you that Joe Biden has called Benjamin Netanyahu and reiterates U.S. support. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing into the news untold stories on behalf of Stir Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, we say good night.
We leave you with ABC Amba TV images. God bless you.